Welcome to Analyzing RWBY Weapons, a series where we take a look at the weapons of RWBY and see just how well they stack up as weapons themselves, and how well they are utilized and suit their respective users. Today we'll be covering Flynt Cole's weapon, the Trumpet, as seen in Volume 3. Formatting. As always, we'll break down the analysis into multiple stages, starting with a basic overview of what the weapon is, followed by a coverage of what inspirations the weapons are based off. After that is a breakdown of the fighting style employed by the user of it. Before we do the scoring, I will discuss the changes to either the weapon or the style in which it's used to improve the power. Once that's done, we'll move on to scoring for both the weapon and the user interface. Flynt's Trumpet is shown to have incorporated dust files into the valve/valve mechanisms of the trumpet keys, with some kind of handle similar to that of a pistol grip attached to the lower section of the trumpet. Concept art suggests a transformation function to this weapon through the use of the handle, but for the purposes of the review, due to lack of information, we will not be accounting for it in the scoring. The trumpet appears to be based on the classical C-type trumpet that is often used in classical orchestra music and jazz music. Flynt's use of the valve system over the rotary system for the keys could be a simple design choice for making incorporating dust easier. The C trumpet is known for producing a brighter, higher sound set than its counterpart, the B-flat trumpet, making it the more common choice for both classical and jazz musics. Flynt's fighting style is very much in line with that of how a trumpet player performs. He prefers to stand in one place with a very firm stance and is not shown to utilize a lot of movement. He has, however, shown some skill in close-quarter combat by neatly dodging Weiss's attack and delivering a follow-up kick in the same movement. His trumpet has been shown to produce very powerful sound waves for its size that can both boost the speed of a teammate or blow away enemies such as Yang or force them to use their semblance such as Weiss. His trumpet can also redirect hazards in the area such as fire spills as seen in his match, where he utilized it to add elemental damage to his attacks against Weiss without adding extra dust. Flynt's semblance is known as Killer Quartet, which allows him to split himself into a total of 4 people. He is then shown to be able to utilize this to increase the power and damage of his trumpet, and possibly even the range if used right, adding up to 4 elements together to create a massive sound wave funnel. However, it seems that his sound waves are to selectively harm individuals, as Neon remained unaffected besides a speed boost from the attack, while Yang received damage from the attack. The trumpet does have one major weakness though. If the end is crushed, as seen when Yang crushed it in the end of his fight, the power that should have been projected forwards is blasted back at him instead. The weapon overall is very well suited to Flynt and his abilities. It requires very few changes, if any. Without knowing the purpose of a handle that is seen, we will have to assume it does nothing for the purpose of the scoring. Personally, however, I do believe that it is some kind of mechanism for him to fire without playing, as it appears to be linked into the valve keys. The only additions I would make to the weapon overall would be some form of bayonet for him to utilize in close quarters, and some reinforcements along the bell of the trumpet to prevent it being crushed, and in the case that it is crushed, some kind of blowback release valve to prevent him from being damaged by it. Versatility receives an 8 out of 10. The trumpet is shown to have the power to utilize multiple elements at once or use them in rapid succession. It can be used to support or attack, making this a highly flexible weapon for combat situations. Simplicity receives a 5 out of 10. His weapon, while simple at first glance, does seem to require you to utilize proper playing techniques and proper knowledge of notes and music. So, in addition to learning to fight, one must also learn how to play and know what songs to use, making it far more complex than it originally seems. So, it receives only a 5 out of 10. Right. Power receives a 7 out of 10. We see little of the damage it can actually produce due to the nature of the fight. However, we do see it produce powerful sound waves capable of sending enemies flying like Yang, or forcing them to utilize their semblance like Weiss, and even then, Weiss seemed to struggle with just basic movements for a bit in the face of the sound waves. And the damage it did produce was enough to handle Weiss with relative ease. DPS receives an 8 out of 10. While we see very little of Flynt fighting more than one enemy at a time, what we do see indicates his weapon can hit several foes at once without seeming to expend any extra effort on his part, meaning his DPS is only brought down by limited directional damage and an unknown stopping power. Thus, he has a very high DPS, despite very little known about his weapon's damage. Weight receives a 10 out of 10. A perfect score is awarded due to how light his weapon is and how he's never shown needing to reload, while his ammo vials remain small enough that a single belt or bandolier of vials would last him days, if not weeks, of daily combat. All of these scores added together equal a total of 76 when doubled, and thus equal a B for a rating. Fighting style receives an 8 out of 10. Flynt's style is perfectly suited to his weapon, allowing him to focus on breathing methods to keep his DPS up without having to concern himself with moving and playing at the same time. Additionally, trusting in his skills or his teammates to keep him safe would let him focus on playing, making his calm nature and weapon of choice ideal. Size receives a 9 out of 10. The weapon is so light that it is easy for him to use and hold even in one hand, as shown during his dodge and riposte of Weiss. His semblance receives a 10 out of 10, as his semblance has the power to not only increase the variety of his attacks, but also the damage and possibly even the range, allowing him to produce far more varied attacks than he would be able to do with just the trumpet alone. Armor receives a 7 out of 10. While no armor belt is shown, nor is a bandolier of any form shown, what is shown is very practical in terms of his weaponry. Nothing of his outfit gets in the way for his weapon, and he even wears a glove on one hand, allowing him to grip the trumpet better, while leaving the other hand uncovered to have better control and precision over the valves used for his weapon. Carry weight receives a 9 out of 10. A trumpet's carry case is neither large nor terribly heavy, meaning it would be very easy to mod to hold the spare vials within, and with a strap it would become very simple for him to take it on longer missions. When all the scores are totaled together and then doubled, the total grade they receive is an 86, meaning it receives an A for ranking. That concludes episode 2 of Analyze RWBY Weapons, Flynt's Trumpet. Next week we'll be covering Sienna Khan's weapon, the Chain Whip, as seen in the Adam character short. So, stay tuned. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and possibly, if you're willing, share this video with a friend.